Glasgow Central, and I'm off to Greenock on the Wemyss Bay train. If you don't understand why, watch the film and you'll see why. On these trains, the bicycle area is marked by a bright green band around the window and the door. And well done ScotRail for making it so obvious. Drumfrochar station, and there's the Wemyss Bay train departing. The station was opened in 1998. And there's a fine view of Greenock and the River Clyde from Drumfrochar station. So you'll see now why I was on the Wemyss Bay train going to Greenock. Custom House Quay, Greenock, which was a battleground between the Caledonian Railway and the Glasgow and South West. And the Caledonian Railway connected with steamers down the Clyde to places like Dunoon and Rothesay from Custom House Quay, which did entail a bit of a walk from Greenock Central station. And the Glasgow and South Western Railway exploited this inconvenience by building their own line to Greenock Princes Pier. The reason I'm at Custom House Quay is because the Caledonian Railway were the first to arrive here. The main problem was that it's a good walk from Greenock Central station. Competing with the seagulls here, I'm going to walk up from here now to Central Station just to see how long it takes. Now it took me 4 minutes to walk up here, which included crossing a main road and waiting for the lights to show in my favour. Although I've used this station a few times, I've never actually explored it. I've often wondered what's behind that retaining wall there, because there's a tunnel taking the tracks towards Greenock West, which we'll look at later, and Greenock. The station does currently have 2 platforms, but there's also a couple of bay platforms there. You notice the buffers under the weeds. Yes, there were 2 tracks here, both of which have buffers. Now this one wouldn't have been a full-length platform because of the retaining wall. No doubt the platform was here to allow locomotive drivers to board and alight, I suppose. And there's some telecoms equipment finding a home for itself on the track bed of the 2 disused platforms. There was originally a glazed roof between these 2 walls. It would have been a fine station with a glazed roof. The station roof was damaged during the Greenock Blitz in the Second World War, and some of it replaced by canopies, all of which were demolished in the early 1990s. And after the roof was removed, the new pavilion-style ticket office was introduced, and you can see the retaining wall behind the ticket office. Scan round, and there you can see the wall again. The accessibility ramp takes us through the retaining wall through a couple of arches, and the other side of the retaining wall is now a timber yard, which presumably was a goods yard and sidings of some sort. And here comes a train to Greenock, and you can see the former bay platform on the left full of green vegetation. And this is a class 3018 unit, and that's nice. I like the 318s.
Train arriving at platform 1 is the 1220 service to Glasgow Central.
And here we go, off to Greenock. And the Glasgow train arriving at the other platform. A slightly newer train. The 385. And this is the entrance to the down platform. It's more like a medieval monument than a railway station. Station built in 1492. And when you come out of the station, a sign does direct you to the ocean terminal. At least they're not competing with the Glasgow and South Western Railway anymore. There's a certain inevitability about Wetherspoons having a pub in Greenock called the James Watt. James Watt was born in Greenock in 1736 and died in 1819. One ploy the Caledonian Railway had was that if there was a steamer that was picking up passengers at both Custom House Quay and Princes Pier, the Caledonian would delay their train slightly, which meant that the Glasgow and South Western passengers at Princes Pier were kept waiting on the pier, which would cause them to be annoyed and not use the GSW services anymore. And this bridge takes Lynedoch Street over the Glasgow and South Western line, and you can see we're now quite a way above the river level. And that looks like one of the platforms of Lynedoch Station. Yes, a water pipe leaking onto the old railway line from an overbridge. And through the bridge you can see a bit of the old platform of Lynedoch Station. And here we are on Lynedoch Station, and there's the down platform looking towards Greenock Princes Pier. And there's the bridge there through which I've just walked. Somebody having pulled the fence back, and the track for some reason ends under the bridge. Yeah, the platforms are quite long. 2 platforms, still in quite good condition. Although with trees growing on it, you would struggle to reopen this line. And this is the bridge under Lynedoch Street, where some rails have reappeared. Maybe they couldn't operate the track lifting crane under the bridge. I have to say it's a wee bit spooky, and I'm going to turn back soon. And that seems to be a culvert or an accommodation bridge next to the railway bridge, again Lynedoch Street. And here it becomes very boggy, and it appears to lead to a tunnel, so I think I might turn back here. Dereliction is never a happy sight. And this is the top of Lynedoch Street, a stone's throw from Lynedoch Station, and you see on the left the entrance to Greenock Upper Station on the Weems Bay branch. That was the entrance to the station. I'm assuming there was a subway under the track. Let's have a look at the bridge, the overbridge. And judging by the mark on the wall above the archway, there was probably a canopy of some sort. So you can see the 2 stations were in fact very close. No doubt the second one, the GSW, was built to compete with the first, the Caledonian. My little device tells me we're 68 metres above sea level, the sea being just down the road to my left. Whinhill Station, and that's the entrance to Whinhill Station. This gives some idea about how high we are. You can see one of the huge churches in Greenock. Whinhill Station was opened in 1990 as a somewhat belated replacement for the station of Upper Greenock, which was just up the line. And looking down the line you can see a tunnel, a vandal-proof waiting shelter, and it's a bit optimistic to have bike racks next to a vandal-proof waiting shelter. And here's a viaduct on the GSW line, fenced off at both ends, but a nice viewpoint. And there's the fencing, just to show a fine structure, obviously built to last, which it has. And you can see down there's still some abandoned rails. A slightly unusual view of Ben Lomond, taken from a disused railway arch in Greenock. Wonderful structure, eh? The station was the site of a very sad derailment in 1994 when 2 vandals who'd placed concrete slabs across the track caused a train to be derailed. The train hit a bridge and the driver and a 21-year-old passenger were both killed. And following police investigations, 2 17-year-old boys were convicted and sent to prison. Peat Road Bridge is just to my right from this photograph. The 2 boys served 15 years for culpable homicide. A lady passing by remembered it well, and she expressed the opinion that it was murder. And the station serves the upper part of Greenock. One of the replacement stations for Upper Greenock Station is completely unstaffed with no ticket machine. Greenock West, which serves the West End, as it's sometimes called, Greenock West or the West End. Into the long tunnel, longest mainline tunnel in Scotland. I can't help notice that the footbridge is not only covered but fully enclosed. No doubt the wind and the rain blowing off the Firth of Clyde are a reason why the footbridge is fully enclosed. I have used it before. And it has a rather pleasant ticket hall with a hot food takeaway, which isn't open at this time of the afternoon. And from Greenock West the line continues to Greenock under the tunnel along Newton Street, which is up there behind the church. And if you study the Ordnance Survey map here, you will see that the Caledonian Railway Tunnel crosses over the Glasgow and South Western Tunnel, which goes down to Princes Pier. The train's about to burst out of the tunnel. Here we go. And the opening of the Glasgow and South Western line to Greenock Princes Pier, which is where those 2 cranes are now, ultimately led the Caledonian Railway to retaliate by extending the line from Greenock Central to Greenock, which is down there, where the wee ferry is, just skirting around present day terminus. And it was quite an undertaking because extending the line from Greenock to Greenock involved going under this hill where I'm stood now, which is called Lisle Hill, named after the sugar magnate famous for Lyle's golden syrup. And that is the site of Greenock Princes Pier, which is now Greenock Ocean Terminal. And cruise liners regularly stop there as well. Regular passenger trains finished in 1959, but the line continues until 1965, being used by boat trains. The station had a slightly odd design in that there were no crossovers at the buffer end of the tracks, which meant that incoming trains had to reverse out so the locomotive could run round. And the bridge that took the line into Princes Pier station is ironically advertising a ferry company. Well, I've been to Greenock many times and I've never noticed this view from a bridge on Union Street before, looking directly along the line of the railway into Princes Pier station. Just looking across the road, and you can see from the lie of the land that the tunnel under the west end of Greenock starts just the other side of that bridge. It was apparently quite a steep slope down into Princes Pier station because that was more or less at sea level, whereas the Glasgow and South Western line took a hilly route from Paisley. It still has a bridge number, I guess that's Department for Transport, Kilmacoombe 68A. This is on Brackleston Street at the corner of Murdiston Street, for those that want to use Google Maps to find it. And I'm stood on the entrance to the tunnel on Inverkip Road. You see some of the track still in situ there. It's odd that the tracks are in place in some parts of the old track bed but not others. Some of the churches in Greenock are incredibly tall and a couple of local ladies just tried to jump into this film. There's a few people wandering around Greenock taking photos today, which makes me think there might be a cruise ship in, and I'm not surprised because the buildings in Greenock are superb. I always love coming to Greenock. And there's the ocean terminal, and next to it a bloody big cruise ship, and that's not a Calmac ferry. And I'm just scanning around so that you can see along to Custom House Quay. The Princes Pier station was further along where the Clyde cranes are. One of the passengers whose English wasn't very good told me that they're stopping somewhere else in Scotland. I haven't covered Cartsdyke or Bogston stations in this film, small stations. And here's an Ordnance Survey map showing Lynedoch, Greenock Upper, Whinhill and Drumfrochar stations. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to buy me a coffee as a reward for making these lovely films, please see the link here to Ko-fi.
Approaching Greenock Central. Please mind the gap when alighting from this train.
Another tunnel. Well, I hope it goes the right side of the green buoy. Yeah, should just about do it.